Hi guys, and today we're showing you how to do a spreadsheet using formulas and graphs.
We're assuming no prior knowledge, so we'll explain everything.
We'll be using Google Sheets, but all spreadsheets are similar, so most of the knowledge will be transferable.
And if you're interested in the experiment where this spreadsheet came from,
where we explore Newton's second law through experimentation with a toy car,
then be sure to check that out. Link should be in the description.
We had a lot of fun doing that.
And it's something you can do at home using just household items. Anyways, let's get on with the video.
If, like us, you're using Google Sheets, then you'll need a Google account, which is free.
You don't need us to show you how to do that.
If you've got a Gmail account, that will be your Google account. After creating our Google account, we've just gone to google.com. Click the dotted square here, and then scroll down until you see Sheets here. Click on it, and it should bring you to Google Sheets. Once you're at this page, you just have to click this blank sheet with a cross on, which will bring you to a blank spreadsheet. And great, it's worked.
Let's get our terminology straight.
These vertical strips are called columns. Columns as in columns holding up a building. Each column has its own letter assigned to it.
This is column G.
These horizontal strips are called rows. Rows as in rows of railings. Each row has its own number assigned to it.
This is row 12.
These little rectangles are called cells. They're named after the unique column and row.
This is cell B5.
If you select a cell by clicking on it, the name shows up in this top left name box.
This is cell F7. Ranges.
A range is a selection of multiple cells. I'm selecting my starting cell, then pressing Shift and keeping it pressed, and selecting my ending cell.
We have now selected a range, and you can see it in the name box in the top left.
The range is named after this top left cell, in this case A1, followed by a colon, and then its bottom right cell, in this case C5. Let's recreate this spreadsheet and graph. We'll put the data and formulas in first, and then the graph, and then make the spreadsheet look pretty. We'll do these simple headings first. There's no formulas involved, it's just typed in. So we'll start off with this cell here, B6, and you can just select the cell and type in straight away, and B6 had mass of system kilograms. You can see the text is bigger than the column, so when we enter the next heading, it gets cut off. If you go to the top here, you can drag and widen the column. Or you could just double click in the same spot instead of dragging to make it fit perfectly.
What if you're doing it on a tablet or smart device?
And on the tablet, you can just select the column letter and this little double arrow icon you can use to scale it out or in. But you can just double tap it to fit to scale like we did on the computer. I want this to span over 3 lines. Pressing enter just moves me onto the cell below it. If you want to go onto a new line, you can press Alt enter or Control enter, depending on your OS. And I'm just going to do that again. Control enter. Now I'm going to use my double click method to make it fit properly. Great. I'm now going to repeat the process doing this cell and all of these cells. So I'll catch you when I've done that. Okay, done.
You may have come from the physics experiment where this spreadsheet came from, or you may just want to learn about spreadsheets, which is fine. One thing, if you did come from the physics experiment, then you can change the values that we put into the spreadsheet to fit your specific experiment setup.
Now for this column. It's just 0.296 repeated all the way down. So I'll just click the cell and then type 0.296 and then click this little square in the bottom right hand side of the cell and just drag down to all the cells I want to copy it to. That's simple.
My brother had a bit of an accident, don't worry, he's fine, but I'm just going to carry on from where he left off. Also, once you finish this video, if you want to find out what happened to my brother, that's all in our most recent update video, so a link should be popping up now or something. And also, excuse this setup, this is for another video in which we use this spreadsheet. The spreadsheet that we're copying has changed a little bit. It's roughly the same thing, it just looks a little bit different. But everything that we've created so far matches to the spreadsheet that we're copying, so we're just going to go from there. Since we're copying this spreadsheet, I'm going to type in all the values in the maths of box column and type those values into our spreadsheet. This is as simple as selecting the cell and typing in the value. You can see I kind of forgot to fill in this cell, so I've just filled that in as well. Now for the fun part. So the next thing I'm going to do is fill out the force column here. And all of these values I haven't put in manually. Our spreadsheet has worked it out for us. The way we do this is by using formulas. So if I selected this cell, you can check the formula bar here and see a formula. So let's recreate it in our spreadsheet. So select the cell you want to use the formula in, press equal or the equality sign to show it's a formula, and my formula includes timesing the value in another cell by another value, 9.81. The cell I want to use in my formula is C7, and we can simply type in C7, or select the cell instead, and you can see once I've selected it, C7 appears. The star sign is times or multiply, and by the way, if I say times I mean multiply and vice versa, and I want to multiply the value in C7 by 9.81. Okay, you can see here this suggested autofill that pops up, and I could just press tick and Google Sheets is smart enough to autofill all the cells below with the correct formula that would display the correct results for us. You can see the values it would put in the light grey below. But I'm going to ignore that and show you guys how to do it manually without this autofill pop-up. Also, it isn't just Google Sheets that does this. Most other spreadsheet applications and such will all have similar features, so are likely to have this feature as well. You can see in the formula it uses data from this cell, which is on the same row, but in column C. So Google Sheets predicts the formula for the cell below will use data from this new row, but from the same column, column C. So instead of using data from cell C7, it should use data from cell C8. And that's exactly what I want. So if I hover my mouse over the bottom right corner of my cell and drag it down, it autofills my cell, and if we check the formula, it's different to the one above and uses data from cell C8, just as we wanted. I want it to follow this exact pattern for the full column, so I'll just do the dragging trick and it autofills all the cells with the correct formula. Perfect. One quick detail to add, you can see all the values in the force column have been rounded to 3 decimal places. So to do that for us, we select the cell that we want to round, press this button on the top menu bar to decrease the number of decimal places we round to, and you can also press this button to increase the number of decimal places you want to round to. And I'm using the dragging technique to transfer that effect to the rest of the cells below. Not the most efficient way of doing it. I should have used arrange instead, so selected a range of cells and then applied the effect to all those cells at the same time. Now we're just going to fill out the next 3 columns, the acceleration columns. These have data we've just recorded from our experiment, and we're manually selecting the cells and typing in the values. So if you're using this spreadsheet to carry out this experiment, then your values would probably be different. In the next column, we want an average of some data. So we'll use another formula, but this time we use a very useful function. So same as before, select the cell, press equals or the equality sign, and if you know the function that you want to use, go ahead and type that in. But if we press this sigma sign here on the top right, it displays a range of functions that we can use. And we'll use this average one since we need to find an average. And once we've selected that, we put the range of data we want to find the average of inside these brackets or parentheses. And I want to find the average of the values in columns E, F, and G. So the range of data I want is from here, hold the shift key, to here. So I'll press enter and my average is displayed in the cell. And we can use the handy dragging trick, and Google Sheets will autofill the cells below with the correct formulas and find the averages of data for each individual row. Let's take a little break from the table. We have this little detail here, this distance, and it has its value next to it, so I'm going to quickly fill that in. Again, very simple, just select the cell, type in what you want, and done. And now I'm just going to very quickly fill in these next 3 columns on the table, labelled time 1, 2, and 3. These are just measurements we've taken with a stopwatch, and of course if you're carrying out this experiment then your values will probably be different. And in the next column I want to find the average of these 3 times and do that for each row. So the same thing as we did before on the last average column, but the range is from here, press the shift key, to here. Okay, I'll transfer that formula to the rest of the cells below and done. The next column is a bit more complex, so I'll do that last, which means we have to do the last column next. The formula we're going to use in this cell is displayed in the cell above. So it's F for force, which is this cell, divided by M for mass, which is this cell, and if we check the formula bar, we have D7, which is this cell, divided by B7, which is this cell. So very simple, the only difference from the formulas we've done before is that we're using data from more than one cell, and we're also using the divide symbol. You may have seen this round here with some brackets around the formula, and this is another way that you can round a value. This 2 here means that we're rounding to 2 decimal places. But I think we'll stick to using these buttons on the top menu bar. Okay, let's put that into our spreadsheet. So following the same method as before, select the cell, press equals, and the formula is force, which will be in this cell, so I'll select that, divided by, so I'll do the / sign for that, divided by the mass, which would be in this cell, so I'll select that, press enter, and it works. So pressing the buttons on the top menu bar to round, and using the dragging trick to transfer that formula to the rest of the cells below, and finished. Already you guys know so much, and you could do almost any spreadsheet you like. Now there's a reason I've saved this acceleration column till last, and that's because it uses a few new things which I'm about to show you now. So if I select the cell and you check the formula bar, it gives you a sneak peek of what I'm about to show you, and you may see a few new things used. So let's head over to our spreadsheet, and like before, the formula we're going to use is displayed in the brackets or parentheses in the cell above. So the first part, 2s, means 2 multiplied by the distance, which is always going to be in this cell here. So we'll put the equality sign to show it's a formula, then 2, and the star sign for multiply, and I'll just select this cell because that's where the value for distance will be. Again, I could have just typed in the cell name, but I prefer just selecting the cell. We'll do a / for divide, and then the T is the average time, which is in this cell here, cell L7. So I'll select that, and the formula says we want T squared. So I could just do L7 multiplied by L7, since that's the same thing. But if I had a larger indice, which is this little number, this little 2, then that's going to be a pain to type out. So if my indice was 10, I'd be doing L7 times L7 times L7, and so on and so forth. So I can just use this little hat symbol to show I'm using an indice, and then put 2 after it, since I'm squaring whatever is in L7. So I'll just press enter, and it works. And I'm going to make a purposeful mistake here, so I'll do the dragging trick, and already you can see there's a bit of a problem here. Remember when I said Google Sheets and other spreadsheet applications were smart enough to autofill the cells below or elsewhere with the correct formulas and values? Well, it turns out they're not as smart as we first thought. If we select the cell we originally put the formula in and check the formula, we use data from cell L7. And then as we move down a cell, it uses data from cell L8, L9, and so on and so forth, which is what I wanted. And if we go back to our first example, we also use data from cell D2, which is again what we wanted. But then the next cell down uses data from cell D3, which isn't what we want. And then as we travel down the column from D4, D5, etc., so that means we're going to be using data from this cell, then this cell, then this cell, then this cell. When really we want to use data from this one cell, D2, the whole time and for it to never change. So to do that, we can select the cell, then before the 2, put a $sign. So by putting a $sign before that number, in our case number 2, it tells Google Sheets that we don't want that to ever change. So now if we autofill all the cells below using the dragging trick, when we check the formula, $2 doesn't change and stays the same, which is what we want. Incidentally, you can also put a $sign before the letter to ensure the column doesn't change either. Now the table is finished, just before we make it look pretty, we need to quickly do this grams to kilograms converter, which is super simple. So these 3 cells are just labels, so we'll just quickly add those in our spreadsheet by selecting the cell and just typing in the cell. And also this cell here looks like it's just any value, so I'll just copy the value that's already there. So select the cell, type in 19.87. Now this cell uses a formula, so that's whatever is in H3, so the cell next to it, and just divided by 1000. So jump over to our spreadsheet, same as usual, select the cell, type in the formula, so it's this cell, so I'll select that, / for divide, and it's divided by 1000. Okay, enter, and it's done. I did intend to fit this all into one video, however I didn't want it to get too long, so I'll split it up, so in the next video I'll show you guys how to do the graph and make everything look pretty. That's all for now, and I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching.
If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.